ki, Ananta Gurvashavana ki, Shahadas Thakur ki, Shri Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki, Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Shankar Radha Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan ki, Shri Navadvip Pura ki, Kamimai Kamimai ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Bhaktidevi ki, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Govardhan. All glories to the Son of God. All glories to the Son of God. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 12, Text number 19. Please repeat after me. Brahmana Uchu.
Brahmana Uchu.
Prajavita Sakshat.
Brahmana Sakshat.
Ishraku Iva Manava.
Ishrakurana Manava.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Ramo Dasharatirita.
Ramo Dasharatirita.
Ramanucha. Ata Prajavita Saksha.
Ata Prajavita Saksha.
You have phones? You don't have any phone? Sorry, I forgot. This is not working out.
We have
Canto 1, Chapter 12.
Text 19.
1, 12, 19. Where are you from? Where are you from?
Malta.
What?
We live in Malta.
Malta.
Yes.
Three of you? Oh, three. Great, great, great.
Russia.
Russia. Oh, okay. You ready? Found it? Very good. Brahmana Uchu.
Brahmana Uchu.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ishvakuriva Manava.
Ishvakuriva Manava.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Ramo Dasharatirita.
Ramo Dasharatirita.
Brahmana Uchu.
Brahmana Uchu.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ishvakuriva Manava.
Ishvakuriva Manava.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Ramo Dasharatirita.
Ramo Dasharatirita.
Brahmana Uchu.
Brahmana Uchu.
Partha Prajavita Sakshat.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ishwaku Iva Manava.
Ishvakuriva Manava.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Ramo Dasharathiyatha.
Ramo Dasharathiyatha.
Brahmana Uchu.
Brahmana Uchu.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ikshvako Iva Manava.
Ishvakuriva Manava.
Brahmanya Satya Shandascha.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Namo Dasaratiyata.
Namo Dasharathiyatha. Brahmana Uchu. Brahmana Uchu.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ata Prajavita Sakshat.
Ikshvakur Iva Manava.
Ishvakuriva Manava.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Brahmanya Satyasandascha.
Ramo Dasharatiriyata.
Ramo Dasharathiyatha. Sanapita,
Kunti,
Kunti,
Praja,
Praja,
those who are born,
those who are born,
Avita,
Avita,
Maintainer,
Maintainer,
Sakshat,
Sakshat,
Directly,
Directly,
Ishvaku,
Ishaku,
Iva,
exactly like King Ishvaku,
exactly like King Ishaku,
Manava,
Manava,
son of Manu,
son of Manu,
Brahmanya,
Brahmanya,
followers and respectful to the Brahmin,
followers and respectful to the Brahmanas,
Satyasanda,
Satyasanda,
truthful by promise,
truthful by promise,
Cha,
Cha,
also, Rama,
Rama,
personality of Godhead,
personality of Godhead, Rama,
Dasarati,
Dasarati,
son of Maharaj Dasarati,
Samara,
Yata,
Yata,
like him.
like him.
Okay, translation. The learned Brahmin said, O son of Pita, this child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku, son of Manu, in maintaining all those who are born. And as for following the Brahminical principles, especially in being true to his promise, he shall be exactly like Rama, the personality of Godhead, the son of Maharaj Dasara. Please repeat. The learned Brahmin said,
Learned Brahmin said,
O son of Pita,
O son of Pita,
this child shall be exactly like King Ikshvaku,
this child shall be exactly like King Ishvaku,
son of Manu,
son of Manu,
in maintaining all those who are born.
in maintaining all those who are born,
And as for following the Brahminical principles,
and as for following the Brahminical principles,
especially in being true to his promise,
especially in being true to his promise,
he shall be exactly like Ram,
he shall be exactly like Ram,
the personality of Godhead,
the personality of Godhead,
the son of Maharaj Dasara.
the son of Maharaj.
Praja means the living being who has taken birth in the material world. Actually, the living being has no birth and no death, but because of his separation from the service of the Lord and due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is offered a suitable body to satisfy his material desires. In doing so, one becomes conditioned by the laws of the material nature, and the material body is changed in terms of his own work. The living entity thus transmigrates from one body to another in 8,400,000 species of life. But due to his being the part and parcel of the Lord, he is not only is maintained with all necessities of life by the Lord, but also is protected by the Lord and his representatives, the saintly kings. These saintly kings give protection to all the prajas or living beings to live and to fulfill their terms of imprisonment. Maharaj Parikshit was actually an ideal saintly king because while touring his kingdom he happened to see a poor cow who was about to be killed by the personified Kali, whom he at once took to task as a murderer. This means that even the animals were given protection by the saintly administrators, not from any sentimental point of view, but because those who have taken their birth in the material world have the right to live. All the saintly kings, beginning from the king of the sun globe down to the king of the earth, are so inclined by the influence of the Vedic literatures. The Vedic literatures are taught in higher planets also, as there is reference in the Bhagavad Gita 4.1 about the teachings of the sun god Vivasvan by the Lord, and such lessons are transferred by disciplic succession, as it was done by the sun god to his son Manu, and from Manu to Maharaj Ikshvaku. There are 14 Manus in one day of Brahma, and the Manu referred to here is the seventh Manu, who is one of the Prajapatis, those who create progeny, and he is the son of the sun god. He is known as the Vaivasvat Manu. He had 10 sons, and Maharaj Ikshvaku was one of them. Maharaj Ikshvaku also learned Bhakti Yoga as taught in the Bhagavad Gita from his father, Manu, who got it from his father, the sun god. Later on, the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita came down by disciplic succession from Maharaj Ikshvaku, but in course of time the chain was broken by unscrupulous persons, and therefore it again had to be taught to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So all the Vedic literatures are current from the very beginning of creation of the material world, and thus the Vedic literatures are known as Aparushaya, not made by man. The Vedic knowledge was spoken by the Lord and first heard by Brahma, the first created living being within the universe. Maharaj Maharaj Ikshvaku, one of the sons of Vaivasvata Manu. He had 100 sons. He prohibited meat eating. His son Shashada became the next king after his death. Manu. The Manu mentioned in this verse as the father of Ikshvaku is the seventh Manu of the name Vaivasvata Manu, the son of sun god Vivasvan, to whom Lord Krishna instructed the teachings of Bhagavad Gita prior to his teaching them to Arjuna. Mankind is the descendant of Manu. This Vaivasvata Manu had 10 sons named Ikshvaku, Navaga, Drishta, Shariti, Narishanta, Navaga, Ishta, Karusha, Prashadra, and Vasumana. The Lord's incarnation, Matsya, the gigantic fish, was advented during the beginning of Vaivasvata Manu's reign. He learned the principles of Bhagavad Gita from his father, Vivasvan, the sun god, and he re-instructed the same to his son, Maharaj Ikshvaku. In the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the sun god instructed devotional service to Manu, and Manu in his turn instructed it to Ikshvaku for the welfare of the whole human society. Lord Ram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, incarnated himself as Sri Rama, accepting the sonhood of his pure devotee Maharaj Dasharath, the king of Ayodhya. Lord Ram descended along with his plenary portions, and all of them appeared as his younger brothers. In the month of Chaitra, on the 9th day of the growing moon, in the Treta Yuga, the Lord appeared, as usual, to establish the principles of religion and to annihilate the disturbing elements. When he was just a young boy, he helped the great sage Vishvamitra by killing Subahu and striking Maricha, two demons who were disturbing the sages. The she-demons who were disturbing the sages in their daily discharge of duties. The Brahmanas and Kshatriyas are meant to cooperate for the welfare of the mass of people. The Brahmana sages endeavor to enlighten the people by perfect knowledge, and the Kshatriyas are meant for their protection. Lord Ramachandra is the ideal king for maintaining and protecting the highest culture of humanity, known as Brahmanya Dharma. The Lord is specifically the protector of the cows and the Brahmanas, and hence he enhances the prosperity of the world. Through the agency of Vishvamitra, he was rewarded by the administrative demigods with effective weapons to conquer the demons. He was present in the bow sacrifice of King Janaka, and by breaking the invincible bow of Shiva, he married Sita Devi, daughter of Maharaj Janaka. After his marriage, he accepted exile in the forest for 14 years by the order of his father, Maharaj Dasharath. To help the administration of the demigods, he killed 14,000 demons. And by the intrigues of the demons, his wife, Sita Devi, was kidnapped by Ravana. He made friendship with Sugriva, who was helped by the Lord to kill Vali, brother of Sugriva. By the help of Lord Ram, Sugriva became the king of the Vanaras, a race of gorillas. The Lord built a floating bridge of stones on the Indian Ocean and reached Lanka, the kingdom of Ravana, who had kidnapped Sita. Later on, Ravana was killed by him, and Ravana's brother, Vibhishana, was installed on the throne of Lanka. Vibhishana was one of the brothers of Ravana, a demon, but Lord Rama made him immortal by his blessings. On the expiry of 14 years, after settling the affairs at Lanka, the Lord came back to the kingdom Ayodhya by Flower Plain. He instructed his brother Shatrughna to attack Ravanashasura, who reigned at Mathura, and the demon was killed. He performed 10 Ashvamedha sacrifices, and later on he disappeared while taking a bath in the Sarayu river. The great epic Ramayana is the history of Lord Rama's activities in the world, and the authoritative Ramayana was written by the great poet Valmiki.
Thank you. Om again. Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Samstha So, this
this chapter is all about the birth of the Emperor Pariksha. Pariksha was the son of Abhimanyu, who was the son of Arjuna. So he was born in a very righteous family, and we know that in the Varnashram system, Varnashram is the system created by Krishna. He talks about that in the Bhagavad Gita, the 4 divisions of human society: the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, the Sudras. So society should be organized into 4 different orders. There's the Brahmins, the intellectuals are supposed to know how people are supposed to live and to study the Vedas, and the Vedas give all necessary instructions on how human beings are supposed to live in the material world. There's a book called the Manu Samhita, which is the law book of Manu, which describes all the different punishments and different ways to rule a kingdom according to Vedic injunctions. Like a murderer, he has to be killed if somebody's a murderer, because if he's not killed, then he'll be put into prison for 50 years or whatever it is, and the state will have to maintain him. If he's a child molester, he'll be put into a special section, and that will cost a huge amount of money to maintain him. So, the Manu Samhita says that if somebody's a murderer, then they have to be killed, and then they get a clean sheet, and in the next life, they don't have to suffer. Because if you put them in prison for 50 years and then they still have to undergo the reaction for killing somebody because you get exactly the reaction that you deserve, then you're doubly punishing somebody. But modern society has no idea how to control, how to govern, how to help people. So therefore it is said, Nate Vishwatikitim Vishnam Durashivaye Bhagatamana Anjaya Tanda Vimniyamanas Tekishatantram Rudamni Bhatha. Important verse spoken by Prahlad Maharaj, where he says that people are led by blind leaders, and the blind leaders, they have no idea how to lead people to the right goal, which is to be Krishna conscious. So they just lead them and they all fall into a ditch. There was a famous painting by one Bruegel protesting about the political situation. He was Dutch. It was quite a famous painting. There's a blind man, everybody's catching onto his coattails and they're all falling into a ditch. So that's the modern world. Everybody's lost. Leaders are completely ignorant of the real goal of life. They just promise material sense gratification, and everybody suffers, and the leaders, they suffer more because they have to take all the sinful reactions of all the citizens. So everybody wants to be a leader, but the great Kshatriya kings, they didn't even want to be the king. They gave up the kingdom. They had to do it as a matter of duty because they were born in a dynasty of kings. So, but as soon as they could, they gave up the kingdom, exactly like you give up a stool after you pass stool. They couldn't escape quick enough because it's such a responsibility, it's such a headache, and they wanted to concentrate more on their spiritual life, and being a chief executive of a country is so much headache. Of course, some people do it because they get some material benefits out of it. We see in America, specifically, one person, he's just, anyway, we shouldn't talk about him, but generally we see throughout history there's so many Hitler, Mussolini. If you're Italian, Mussolini, they hanged him up by his feet, they killed him. Hitler killed himself. So this is the fate of leaders. They end up in very bad situations. But unfortunately we don't have any good Kshatriya kings. It's not like we have Prince Charles, is it? No, I mean, all due respect to the royalty. But he's not the righteous leader who will lead people out onto the battlefield to protect Dharma, to kill the demons, to stop people killing cows. So, we don't have Kshatriyas, we don't have warriors now. We simply, we're trying to create some Brahmins. And Prabhupada was actually very hopeful that this movement would take over the government post, believe it or not. Even though we're so small, but still, Prabhupada, he had great hopes and expectations that the Hare Krishna movement, ISKCON, would actually become the leaders of society. They're much more qualified than anybody else. The people that follow the Vedic injunctions, they're actually the real leaders of society. But we have to become ideal. We don't know what the future of the world is. Maybe something will happen where some big politician will become a devotee and will call on the Brahmins to give him advice. We don't know what's going to happen. Anything can happen. George Harrison was very influential. Of course, he was just a musician. But many people became influenced because he became a devotee. So many people heard the Maha Mantra. The future of the world is unknown, but we should try to become ideal, because the world needs leaders. They need examples of good people, and Prabhupada wanted his devotees to become ideal. He wanted them to become pure devotees, and he gave all the instructions in his books of how to become a pure devotee. So we, as followers of Prabhupada, we have this responsibility, because Prabhupada created ISKCON, and ISKCON is meant to be a movement that cooperates together to bring about a revolution in the lives of misdirected people. Everybody's misdirected. They have no idea about God or Krishna. Even if they have some concept of God, they might go to church, but they're not following religious principles. Name any other religious group which actually forbids the killing of animals. Prabhupada says clearly here that the animals have as much right to live as human beings, because they should be protected and they have the right to live. So no other religious group is propounding, or we don't hear about them anyway. Maybe some, Jewish people, they can eat kosher meat. The meat has to be killed a certain way. Muslims are allowed to eat halal meat, but they're still killing animals. Where's the mainstream religious movement that is propagating the concept that animals have souls even? So they're all very ignorant, and we're only enlightened because Prabhupada enlightened us, because we happened to get lucky, and we came in touch with Srila Prabhupada's movement. We got his books, or we heard the chanting. So the chanting is very important, and Srila Prabhupada wanted everyone to go out with a chanting party. And it said that actually George Harrison, he was very impressed, because even in the middle of the winter when it was raining, the devotees would go out chanting on the street, in Oxford Street, even though the police would chase us at that time. Things have changed. But now people love us. You go out on the Harinam, all the Muslims, they love us. It's their only chance. They will never see a Harinam in Jerusalem or in any of those Middle Eastern countries. They won't see Harinam. So it's a big opportunity that they see the Harinam. There are so many of them are very happy to see the Harinam. And, you know, just by coming in touch with the holy name, even by hearing it once, you get so much benefit. So, so going out on Harinam is such an important service. Going out in book distribution, going out trying to give people knowledge. It's really what Krishna consciousness is all about. And working on our own spiritual purity, becoming pure, becoming ideal. This is very important. There's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam spoken by Sukadeva Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit, and he's talking about the importance of the holy name. Etan Navijabana Navichakamakritobayam. Means that the constant chanting of the holy name is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all. So this, and in the purport there, Prabhupada says that, you know, even when people have material desires, or they desire liberation, whatever their desire is, the chanting of the holy name will bring them all perfection. So we also hear about the glories of Haridas Thakur in the Anchulila. Haridas Thakur was a great example of somebody who was addicted chanting Hare Krishna. Of course, we can't imitate Haridas Thakur. But Haridas Thakur, he was such a great devotee, and he became the Namacharya, which means he's the example to follow of a great devotee. So Haridas Thakur, there was one envious person, Ramachandra Khan, who was envious because Haridas Thakur was respected so much because of his purity and his humility. So Ramachandra Khan, he tried to disrupt his spiritual life. He engaged a prostitute. He found a very attractive young girl to try and make Haridas Thakur fall down. So this prostitute went to Haridas Thakur while he was chanting. Haridas Thakur would chant 300,000 names a day. That's 192 rounds. So he would chant, and the prostitute came to try and tempt him, to try and make him fall down. And Haridas Thakur, he wasn't at all attracted, but he pretended that he would satisfy her when he had finished his rounds. So she said, when can I enjoy with you? He was such a young, handsome young man. So he said, well, just wait till I finish my rounds and I'll definitely satisfy you. So it went on for a couple of days, and she was listening to his chanting, and after 3 days, she felt guilty. She said, look, you know, I was sent here to try to make you fall down. Please forgive me. What should I do? So he said, well, you sit in front of Tulsi Devi, you should shave your head, and you should just chant. So she also ended up chanting 300,000, 192 rounds a day by his influence. So, but Haridas Thakur was trying to placate Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya was very concerned how the living entities will be delivered in this day and age, because they're very sinful in the Kali Yuga. Living entities are very degraded. So Lord Chaitanya was in anxiety. So Haridas Thakur, yes, surely, you know, because the holy name, if it's chanted loudly, it can liberate all living entities. So he wanted us to chant very loudly, to go out so that everybody can hear the holy name. One of the benefits of the industrial age, you could say, is the invention of microphones and loudspeakers. You know, that when we go out, we have a sound system so more people can hear the chanting. So this is a benediction so that we can actually spread Krishna consciousness, just like the printing press. the printing press, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would offer arti to the printing press because the printing press was able to print so many books to spread the glories of the Lord. Previously, you were lucky if you could get a copy of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or if you wanted one, you would have to copy down somebody else's copy. And, this took a long time. Now we're printing so many sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, which trying to distribute so many books due to the invention of the printing press. Who invented the printing press? Huh? I thought it was Thomas Caxton. Caxton invented the printing press. I'm British, very patriotic. British. So the printing press, that was a good invention. So maybe this is the way Lord Chaitanya planned it, that, the Industrial Revolution would make us able to make Prabhupada more able to come to America because he'd catch a plane, and then to travel around the world 14 times, to go to Australia and, to Hong Kong and so many places he went to spread Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, what is the Industrial Revolution? It's such a bad thing for the world. All the industrialists creating one machine after another. Apple, they're constantly trying to improve the iPhone so that your phone becomes obsolete, so you have to buy another phone so they can make more money. And then Tesla's trying to produce more cars, so everybody has to get a Tesla. And then, the lithium batteries, they never deteriorate. We're stuck with them for the next 200,000 years or whatever. So the Industrial Revolution has just brought chaos. But the one good thing about it is that, anybody who works in a factory that produces microphones that devotees use to go out chanting Hare Krishna, they get some benefit. Or whatever we use, if we go on a plane to go and preach somewhere, the devotees who manufacture the plane, they get a little bit of benefit. Or we're going out and somebody's getting a book. Prabhupada said even if they don't read the book, even if they touch the book, they get some benefit. So there could well be a revolution because all the people that are getting the benefit in these tiny ways, what to speak of the people that actually read the books. We don't know how many people read the books, but we do know that some of the top scholars in the world were fans of Srila Prabhupada. People from Harvard University, of course we have a center at Oxford University, the Center for Hindu Studies. So we're not just a newfangled idea of somebody's imagination. This is the Vedic culture, this is the original culture of the world. This is the most complete philosophy, the most wonderful knowledge about the absolute truth. Nothing else compares to it. Where else would you read about somebody who existed 2 million years ago in the Treta Yuga, like Lord Ram? But people are still worshipping Lord Ram. You go to India, everybody's got a picture of Sita, Ram, Lakshmana, Hanuman, people love Hanuman. People love Ganesh. All these personalities are so interesting, Human being with an elephant's head. A monkey that can fly in the sky. But, anybody who's open-minded, I always say Christians need to take LSD. Because you have to be open-minded to accept all this. But it's so wonderful that, even if somebody just made up all these characters, they'd have to be the most intelligent person. They'd have to be the greatest imaginative person. But we believe it's true that, there's a sun god. Why not? All the previous cultures worship the sun. Apollo, was that the name of the sun god? Ra. But none of these other great cultures, the Greek civilization was a great civilization, the Roman civilization, because they threw the Christians to the lions, they were so nice either. Whereas the spiritual movement that's advocating protecting the animals, especially the cows. Probably talks about the cows. Cows are so important in human society. Who understands the importance of cows? That even the cow dung is actually antiseptic. In India, of course, you may know that cows are very, because nowadays India also exports so much beef, but I don't know if it's Muslims or what, but they have laws in India where, you can't have a McDonald's in India where you're selling hamburgers. They'll burn it down. In Gujarat, they have, special surveillance teams to make sure no one's killing cows. Cows are very important in human society. Cows give you the most important food. That's why we're not really, we pretend to be vegan friendly. But actually veganism is not healthy. That you actually, according to Ayurveda, you really need milk products, especially for your brain. There's something you can't get from anywhere else from milk. It's choline, choline, which is some kind of nutrient for the brain. So even if somebody could not, if they could be vegan for 50 years, I don't know what it would do to their brain. Because Prabhupada says milk products give you brain power. So that's why we have to demonstrate cow protection. We have to protect cows. Of course, we have Sitaram Prabhu up there in Leicester area. He's protecting cows. Cow protection is very important. And the kings, this Maharaj Parikshit, he was specifically he confronted Kali, who was killing a cow. So the Vedic culture is very wonderful, and cows, people should actually live simply, ideally, off the land, and they should protect cows, and they should. Someone should train the oxen to work, because actually, apparently, when a male cow was born, there was more celebration, because they would celebrate the birth of the female, because that's the cow gives you milk. But the male bulls, they would celebrate just as much, if not more, because they did all the work. Because they would plow the field, they would transport the goods, whatever. You can do so many things with the male cows. Female cows are not allowed to work. They can only give them milk. If you make a female cow work, that's simple. So, and you're not allowed to ride on a cow. Only Shiva's can ride on the bull. The cows, they give the most important food, plus the males, they do all the work. So that's why Maharaj Parikshit, he was so angry when he saw the bull was being, the bull is a symbol of religion. And one time there's the whole history of Brigupati, it's Karta Arjuna and what's his name? Parashuram. Parashuram is an incarnation of Krishna. He's one of the Dasavata, one of the 10 principal incarnations. So Parashuram, his father was called Jamadagni. And Jamadagni, he had a cow called a Kamadenu. And this wicked king, Kartabiri Arjuna, he had 1,000 arms, believe it or not. So, with his 1,000 arms, he was very powerful. And he came, there's a whole story of how anyway, yeah, so Parashuram, he was the son of Jamadagni. So Kartabiri Arjuna, he came to Jamadagni's hermitage because he was a Brahmin, and he had a cow, and it was called Kamadenu. It gave unlimited milk and all kinds of opulent things. So Kartabiri Arjuna, he came there, and being a Vedic host, he hosted Kartabiri Arjuna. He fed them and his followers. He had his soldiers with him. He fed them all. And then Kartabiri Arjuna, he was a Kshatriya. He became desirous to get the cow because he saw how the cow was giving so much. So he wanted to steal the cow. So anyway, ended up that he stole the cow, and so Parashuram, he was very upset. He chased after him, and he killed him, and he killed all his followers. Parashuram, even though Kartabiri Arjuna had so many soldiers, but still Parashuram, he was by himself. He could kill people at the speed of the mind. He had a chopper. He wore a sheepskin coat, skin on his body. He had a shield, but he killed all the Kshatriyas because they were fallen. They had stolen the cow. The Kshatriyas are supposed to protect the cows. He'd stolen the cow, and then so the Kshatriyas, because they became fallen, they were killed. He killed them 21 times over. And then in that particular story, the history of Parashuram, it says how Jamadagna's wife, her name was Renuka, and she became attracted to some other man in her mind. And Jamadagni, he knew what his wife was thinking, so he was really angry with her. So he told Parashuram to kill his wife. So he didn't hesitate, because he knew that if he killed her, then because he had followed the instructions of his father would give him a benediction. He'd say, you can have a benediction, whatever you want. So he said, okay, you killed her now, you can have a benediction. He said, well, I want you to bring her back to life. So he brought her back to life. And thanks for coming. Hare Krishna. So anyway, so Parashuram, he showed that the Kshatriyas, they have to be genuinely concerned about protecting all the citizens of the country. So no one's going to teach our present day leaders. Of course, maybe there was a thing with Rishi Sunak, his wife, because she's quite a strict vegetarian, and there was a kind of a brouhaha because she wouldn't eat off a spoon that anybody else had eaten off. And this became a big thing in India. I can't remember the details, but she's pure vegetarian. So maybe India's going to save the day by, at least his wife comes from a good family where they're pure vegetarian. We don't know what Krishna's plan is. Rishi Sunak came to the manor. He bowed down to Prabhupada. Of course, Modi, the Prime Minister of India, he regularly goes to ISKCON temples. So maybe ISKCON will take over the world. We don't know, but if it does, we have to be very ideal. Every one of us has a responsibility, and we've seen in the past how ISKCON stumbled a little bit because we had leaders or people in ISKCON who weren't acting properly. They weren't acting ideally. And that caused a huge setback to ISKCON, from which we're still recovering. But if we all follow properly and we try our hardest to come to the platform of becoming Brahmins, because just getting Brahmin initiation isn't really meaning you're a Brahmin, that you have to actually become a Brahmin, because as we were talking about the other day, the Brahmins, they were worshipped by royalty. Like King Pritha, he said, I beg that I may take the dust of the feet of the Brahmins on my head, birth after birth. So, becoming a Brahmin, but we need Brahmins, because Brahmins are the ones who know what Krishna wants. Because Krishna says, Savasya Chaham Vidis, Sanidiswa Matasya Tigyana Bhavanam Chavidesya Savaraham Vidya Padakrit Vedachaham. That from me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the Kapari of the Vedas and know Vedanta. So we have to know the Vedas. That's how we know what Krishna wants. And we have absolute faith that by people adopting this process, by associating with devotees, then they can have a successful life. Otherwise, their life is going to be horrible. They will take birth again and again and again, and the world's not going to get better unless ISKCON becomes ideal. So it's our responsibility to spread this movement, like Srila Prabhupada. He said, the only way you can repay me from saving you from material life is to preach vigorously like me. Because we can't imitate Prabhupada. He only slept a little bit, 3-4 hours a day. I have to sleep a lot more, I eat a lot more. But at least we can do what we can, as much as try our hardest. We just try our hardest to make the world a better place. All right, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any questions, comments? You all agree? Yeah.
Do you have any Buddhas in your farm?
Any what?
Any Buddhas in your
I have a bull. Yeah, I need a bull. You don't know, I have a farm in Florida. I'm not really a farmer, but I don't really want to support commercial dairies, but I don't want to be a vegan. I couldn't live if I had to become vegan.
Yeah.
So I have 17 cows, and I have a bull. I tried artificial insemination for my cows. It didn't really work. If you have a female and you don't get her pregnant, you get some sinful reaction. Yeah. So you have to get, if you have females, because you're going to have females, so you have to get them pregnant. It's a big thing, cow protection. It's very, very entangling, but at the same time, it's very necessary. So I have a bull. He's very, very effective. One night is enough.
Thank you, Karta. Just wonder what your opinion is as far as spreading of Krishna consciousness. Although we understand we have everything and it's ordained by Lord Chaitanya, we see that, if I can say that, Islam is spreading much more than Krishna consciousness.
Islam.
Yeah. So any comments upon that? Or any review? Or is that paving the way for...
Yeah, well, I mean, we're sowing seeds, okay? We're sowing seeds because we're going out chanting. A lot of the Muslims, some of them must be pious because, they're very attracted to the holy name. So they take videos, and because the holy name is so powerful, they'll go back to wherever they're from in the Middle East, and they'll show their friend the videos. They'll hear the chanting of holy name, and the seed of the holy name will be planted, and maybe, in 200 years from now, maybe 50 years, who knows, it will fructify, because here we have Abdullah, Nice Muslim boy. Slave of God. That's what his name means, slave of God. So we, there's definitely hope. So we don't know, what the future is at all.
I just remembered something when you said about Harinam hearing about, before COVID.
About what?
Before COVID. This happened before COVID. We were, doing book distribution and also the Harinam. There was one guy, I think he's from Egypt or Morocco, and he came to me and asked, what is this? And I was coming to the temple, and I started speaking to him. I said, you come here. He came, took the pictures, came to the temple, took the pictures, and took books also
That's nice.
with the family. Yeah.
Well, we also have this other girl here, Harini. Harini, she's Moroccan,
Yeah.
Muslim family. So maybe the Muslims will become Hare Krishnas and will become leaders of the Hare Krishna
He was
movement.
very attracted to Harinam.
Yeah. It's about time. Step up, man.
We don't know what Krishna's plan is. I'm sure there's lots of nice Muslims.
Harry does that.
I mean, I like Sakura. I mean, a long time ago, I went through all these different countries. I went to, Afghanistan, Turkey. I mean, Turkey, we've got so many devotees now, you know that? Turkey.
Yeah.
And it's spreading very quickly in Turkey. They love it, Turkish people are quite open. So there is
Even Saudi
definitely
Arabia. Even Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
Because
He's not.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is we don't know what Krishna's plan is. Anything can happen. And we know that in Iran, for instance, many of the young people hate the government. They're protesting like anything. And, they all wear, in most of these Muslim countries, they like wearing Western clothes under the women, under their, what do you call this? What do you call it? Burqa. Yeah, so, they like the latest jeans and everything else. So, and probably, they like some Western music. They probably watch movies, right? They watch Western music. They take drugs.
Drugs.
Well, there's hope if they take LSD. They'll become very open-minded. I told Abdul's, he used to have a girlfriend. Now he's lifelong bromachary. Told his previous girlfriend that she was a Muslim too before. She's also interested in Hare Krishna. I said, they need to take 10 doses of LSD. And she said 20 doses. Anyway, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shri Prabhupada ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Jai. Prabhu ki
Yay! He's throwing that toast.
I do.